know about you guys, but I am so excited. Oh, I am excited. I consider myself to be emotionally balanced. Typically, my emotions don't sway too far one way or the other. I'm usually calm 7 days a week. My girlfriend, on the other hand, her emotions can change faster than woke wiener exchanges at the Butt Bongo Festival. One minute, everything's all good. Next thing you know, the check engine light comes on in her car. It's the end of the world. We're heading into financial ruin. I'll sit there and let her get all of her emotions out, call the mechanic, get the car tested. Once the problem's resolved, she's back to her normal, happy self. Most women are like this, full of changing emotions. Most men are accused of lacking emotion. It's not often that I get excited about something. I mean, really excited. The start of the NFL season, I get excited. Sunday morning before the Saints game, I'm excited. Saints win, excited. Pelicans make the playoffs, I'm going to all the home games, I get excited. First morning of fall weather, signaling the end of summer, excited. But I don't know if I have ever reached a level of excitement that I reached this past weekend when I found out Jon Stewart was back for season 2 on Apple TV. Oh, I cannot wait! Another fresh set of episodes of a Jewish man atoning for his white privilege. Jon Stewart made history last season by hitting the trifecta. He demonstrated his ability to take the cucumber, the squash, and the whacked out wiener all at the same time. It is an absolute miracle that this show was renewed for a second season. The show is aptly titled The Problem with Jon Stewart. I can think of a lot of problems with Jon Stewart. He is a prime example of what happens to a comedian when they're baptized and born again. He lacks melanin, which automatically causes problems in the virgin community. Shit fucks, they like their cucumbers to be green, not white. But the biggest problem with Jon Stewart is a ratings problem. My God, I didn't think anyone could turn off an audience more than Bomani Jones. Bobo, he has this unique ability to convince people to grab their remote and turn the channel. But the new and improved Johnny Stewart, he is competing with Bobo the Bruiser for the crown of huge embarrassing failure. Perhaps they will even headline the next WrestleMania. No one does failure like Bomani Jones. I don't want to put Jon Stewart in this category just yet. I mean, he was successful for decades when he was hosting The Daily Show. And when he was funny. But ratings for his first season on Apple TV were abysmal. The show debuted with 180,000 viewers. 1 month later, ratings fell 78%. Jon Stewart was averaging 40,000 an episode. If that's the case, how in the fuck did this garbage get renewed for a second season? Now, of course, the mainstream media, they made excuses for their fellow lover of rectums. Apple TV is a small platform. They only have 12 million subscribers. It is impossible for anyone to draw an audience on Apple TV. Oh yeah? Well, when Howard Stern moved to satellite radio in 2006, Sirius had 600,000 subscribers. By the end of the year, they had 3.5 million. Today, they have 35 million. If people really wanted to watch Jon Stewart, money wouldn't be an issue. The problem is, no pun intended, people don't give a shit about Jon Stewart. Why would I want to watch some male birthing person, well past his comedic expiration date, preach to me about my inherent mythical racism because I was born white and apologize for his own white privilege? The apology tour continued during the debut episode of season 2. This was a different type of atonement. Throughout season 1, Jon Stewart washed away his sins of mythical racism. Although, if no one is watching, does it really count? Luckily for Jon Stewart, shitfucks in the mainstream media were watching, so he was granted his cleansing. They called in questioning Quentin to relentlessly beat his bongo. Beat that mythical racism out of this birthing person! Then they used an entire bar of soap to clean up the mess. Perhaps they used Dove, the brand preferred by prepubescent boys like Megan Rapinoe who are married to birds. During the premiere episode of season 2, Jon Stewart wanted to apologize to the rakes and shovels. He wanted to apologize to the identifiers. You see, 20 years ago, Jon Stewart committed a vicious sin. I mean, it was bad. KC, like Orange Man bad? Unfortunately for Jon Stewart, this violation of the woke commandments was worse. Far, far worse. Watch for yourself.
But, as always in these debates, it's left to the longest shot to say the craziest thing. I give you Ohio Representative Dennis Kucinich.
I would nominate any gay to the Supreme Court, or lesbian or bisexual or transgendered person to the Supreme Court.
Yes, yes. All rise for the Honorable Justice Chick with Dick.
I apologize to my younger viewers who have never been exposed to this type of vile comedy before. According to the Daily Beast, Jon Stewart atones for his shitty anti-trans jokes. And that is exactly what he did. Instead of verbally bashing Jon Stewart for a mean joke that he made 20 years ago, the mainstream media is bashing his bongo with the intent of pleasure. It is nothing but praise for Jon Stewart this morning. Headline at Slate Magazine: Why Jon Stewart brutal Leslie Rutledge interview was so important and so good. Headline at Vanity Fair: Jon Stewart is solving the problem. Mother Jones, Salon, Yahoo, the list of butt brigaders lining up for the chance to remove his pants stretches from Times Square to Staten Island. Jon Stewart interviewed Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. She was behind legislation in Arkansas banning gender-affirming care for minors. Now, I don't have Apple TV. I have only seen the 7-minute clip that was posted by Jon Stewart on Twitter. But I'm going to be honest with you. In the clip that I watched, and I watched it several times, Leslie Rutledge, she seemed completely unprepared. She gave the mainstream media plenty of ammunition to further their own narrative. Now, granted, Jon Stewart, he wasn't exactly dropping truth bombs. Most of his rebuttals were vague speculation. But as you guys know, shit fucks, they never let facts, speculation get in the way of furthering their own narrative. I'm going to play several clips back to back. Then I'm going to completely destroy the twisted narrative of Jon Stewart. Now, obviously, I had to condense the footage for copyright reasons, but I'm going to play what I thought was pertinent. Watch for yourself.
You know, we have 98% of the young people who have gender dysphoria, right, that they are able to move past that. And once they have the help that they need, no longer suffer from gender dysphoria. 98%.
Wow.
Without that medical treatment.
That's an incredibly made-up figure. That doesn't comport with any of the studies or documentation that exists from these medical organizations. So if your child is suffering from pediatric cancer, and the state comes in and says to you, they recommend chemotherapy, but we're not going to let you do that. You can't. We think you should get a different opinion, and here's the organization we think you should get the opinion from. They're not the mainstream, but they're an organization. So that's who you have to be treated by. I've got some bad news for you. Parents with children who have gender dysphoria have lost children.
It's simply saying, let those young people who are facing gender confusion and dysphoria, allow them to become adults and to make that decision. Allow a child to be a child. Well, these are irreversible decisions that these children at these young ages are making, or that their parents are making.
They're not making the decision.
This pompous asshole. 98%. Wow, that is a made-up figure. That doesn't comport with the data supplied by the medical laboratory at Woke U. According to Dr. Peachcock, 100% of children who transition live normal, happy lives with their emotional support shovel. To be fair, I was unable to confirm this 98% figure Leslie Rutledge gave. But here's the thing. She didn't provide the source for her information, but neither did Jon Stewart. His rebuttal was pure speculation. According to the research that I found from the Kaiser Family Foundation, 94% of children outgrow gender dysphoria. Other studies had that number closer to 80%. I found that information in less than a minute. How come Jon Stewart and his team didn't find it? They didn't find it because they didn't want to, because it doesn't fit their narrative. Jon Stewart tried, he tried to compare gender dysphoria to pediatric cancer. That's like comparing a roid-raged bongo to prostate cancer. One is a choice. One can be healed with a proper supply of preparation H. The other, in many cases, is deadly. How many kids die each year because of gender dysphoria? I mean, is that even classified as a disease? Why is a 9-year-old even thinking about gender? When I was 9 years old, I was thinking about video games. My biggest worry was my mom picking up the cable box from Comcast so I'd be able to watch the WWF pay-per-view on Sunday. The last thing on my mind was my gender. Why? Because I wasn't indoctrinated. Laura Rutledge made the point that kids should wait until adulthood to make these decisions. Jon Stewart replied, "Children aren't making these decisions anyway." Exactly. That's the point. If kids are not making the decision to transition, who is making it? Who is filling their head with all these ideas? Who is pushing them to make this transition? If I had to guess, it's the parents. There is a simple way to disprove this entire narrative. First of all, why do you think they're fighting so hard to extend transitioning rights to minors? It all goes back to what we talked about last week. They need an entire generation in order for their agenda to be implemented. If they have the minds of an entire generation, every other facet of their plan falls into place. If you have a generation confused about something as simple as gender, you can convince them of anything. If we allow children to decide their gender, who's going to pay for the surgery? Well, KC, that's obvious. The parents will pay. Oh yeah? Most parents don't have $25,000, $50,000 sitting around to cure little Franny's gender dysphoria so she can become little Danny. Are banks going to be required to give loans? Will health insurance providers be required to cover the cost? They've already made it illegal for health insurance providers to deny coverage for gender transitioning. Now, most providers, they find loopholes to deny coverage, but how long is that going to last? Again, who is paying for children to transition? Banks can't loan them money. They're minors. They have no way to pay it back. Wouldn't surprise me if the federal government stepped in, started backing transition loans just like they did for student loans. It eliminates the bank's risk. The child supposedly gets what he wants. Everyone wins, right? We don't allow kids to buy alcohol for a reason. We don't allow them to buy weapons, cigarettes. Hell, in most states, you can't rent a fucking car until you're 25. We have all these restrictions placed on minors for a reason. They don't have the mental development to make sound decisions. But when it comes to the life-changing decision of gender transitioning, we're supposed to be fighting for their right to decide? Jon Stewart is a sellout. This dude is begging for relevancy, and he got it. Since his apology tour began last year on Apple, Jon Stewart has received more media coverage than he did the past 10 years. Unfortunately for him, it ain't working. His show continues to be a huge embarrassing failure, drawing ratings only rivaled by Bomani Jones. Perhaps they can come together as brothers in woke and celebrate their failure with a nice woke hug. Bobo provides the fingers, Johnny provides the bongo. Well, let me know what you think. The media celebrates Jon Stewart fighting for what they call children's rights. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.